Have you ever played a game that just clicked? One that felt like it was made just for you, in your own language? Well, that feeling is absolutely not an accident. It's the work of a hidden art form called video game localization, a craft that, when it's done right, you're not even supposed to notice. Let's pull back the curtain and see how it works. So think about it. What really makes a game world feel real? Is it just the flashy graphics or the super realistic physics? Nah, that's only part of it. The real magic is in creating an experience so seamless, so immersive that nothing ever pulls you out of it. And a huge, often completely overlooked piece of that magic, it's the language. Okay, but why does this matter so much? Well, to get that, we've got to first take a look at who's actually playing games these days. Let's be real, that old stereotype of a gamer is totally out of date. Gaming is a massive global phenomenon, played by an incredibly diverse audience from all corners of the world. It is a worldwide cultural force. And that means games have to speak to everyone, everywhere. And believe me, making that happen is a monumental task. And that's where we run into what I like to call the translation labyrinth, because localizing a video game isn't like translating a book. Oh no, it is infinitely more complex. You see, a game isn't just one block of text. You're juggling dozens of different kinds of writing all at once. The menus and UI, that has to be crystal clear and informative. The dialogue between characters, it's got to be emotional and expressive. Even the art on the box has a job to do. It's got to be persuasive. And each one of these requires a totally different approach. And here is where it gets really wild. Most of the time, translators aren't even looking at full sentences. They're working with something called text strings. And these are just tiny, isolated fragments of text, completely ripped out of their original context from the game. Okay, check this out. This is what a translator often sees. It's a coded chunk of a sentence from a sports game. They can only translate the parts that don't change. Then, the game's code jams in variables for things like team names and dates, but the translator has no idea what those variables are actually going to be. And this lack of context is a recipe for disaster. Why? Because different languages have totally different grammar rules. So if the game's code inserts a plural variable, like the Vikings, but the sentence was built for a singular one, you get these embarrassing, immersion-shattering errors like the Vikings is attacking you. So all of these technical headaches, they actually force a really big kind of philosophical question at the very heart of localization. What's the translator's real job here? Is it to translate the words or to translate the world? Every single localizer has to make this choice. It's like a tug of war. On one side, you have fidelity, sticking to a direct, word-for-word translation that's as literally accurate as possible. But on the other side, you've got freedom, creatively adapting the text to recreate the feeling, the original emotional punch for a brand new audience. And you know what? There's actually a really cool word for this more creative approach: transcreation. It's this awesome blend of translation and creation. In this world, the localizer stops being just a translator and becomes more of a co-writer, using their own artistic skill to make sure the game's humor, its style, and its emotional gut punches land perfectly in a new language. I mean, as one veteran in the field said, if you just translate directly, you can actually sabotage the scene. And that is the absolute key here. A perfectly literal translation can, ironically, be the most unfaithful thing you can possibly do. It can just strip a scene of all its power and completely betray what the creator wanted you to feel. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this battle between fidelity and freedom actually look like out in the wild? Let's dive into what makes a localization good versus what makes one, well, bad. Oh, the signs of bad localization are painfully obvious. We've all seen them. They're the little things that just shatter the illusion. Glaring typos, sure, but also dialogue that just feels flat, lifeless. A hero's dramatic scream for revenge gets turned into a boring, "you will pay for your actions." Even worse, you can get confusing instructions, what some people call linguistic plot stoppers, that literally stop you from being able to play the game. And then there's this classic. It's an embarrassing but super common sign of a rushed or poorly managed localization. When you see text just spilling out of the dialogue box, it's like seeing a boom mic drop into a movie shot. It just instantly yanks you out of the world and reminds you, all right, I'm just playing a game. But now, let's talk about what happens when it's done right. For an example of pure excellence, we have to look at the classic game Vagrant Story.
The original Japanese script was fantastic, but the localization team saw a huge opportunity. Since the game was set in a fantasy version of medieval Europe, they decided to lean into that hard. They gave the English dialogue this rich, almost Shakespearean style.
And this was their genius philosophy. They weren't trying to improve the original game. They were just asking a simple question. If this story had been born in English, in this exact setting, how would these characters talk? They adapted the text to be perfectly authentic to its new cultural home, and the result? It's one of the most beloved and memorable localizations of all time.
And all of this, it brings us right to the ultimate goal, the central, beautiful paradox of this entire craft.
It sounds kind of crazy, but this is the mantra. Change it to keep it the same. To preserve the original experience, the joy, the sadness, the tension, the humor, localizers have to be brave enough to change the original words. See, they aren't preserving text, they're preserving a feeling. And that's the real art of it. The greatest localization is the one you never, ever notice. It's completely invisible. It's a domesticating strategy where all the messy seams are hidden, all the cultural bumps are smoothed over, and you, the player, are left with one single powerful feeling: that this world, this story, was built just for you. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Can a localization, through all of its creative choices and adaptations, ever actually improve on the original game for its new audience? It's a fascinating thought about the hidden power of language and the profound, incredible art of making that power completely invisible.